Hi, today I'm going to present you the painting Cardinal Points. The background of the painting is made of two photos that I found online. So the first one is on the background here, on the bottom of the painting, and it represents the inside of a building with a view to the sky. So it's the way I've done it. I distorted the photo and I really wanted to give an impression of disorientation, and this disorientation is linked to the political disorientation, to the social disorientation. And also, if you are inside a court and you have a view to the sky, your point of view, if you are on the ground level or if you're on the top level, is completely different. So you have a kind of verticality, and this verticality is quite important because for me it's not only a physical verticality, but a social verticality, a political verticality, and an economic verticality. So it's really important. And the second photo I took online represents a May Day protest in Greece during the confinement. So if you look at the photo, the people were separated. So you had a kind of physical distanciation, and it was a rally against the government. So that's why it's linked to the political matter in this painting, and it's on the top, and it represents the building. The back of the building are like ancient monuments, so it asks the question about central government. And of course, as I am working within the thinking of digital spaces, digital engagement, I wanted to ask the question of how you get disoriented, politically speaking, when you have a confinement and when your only way of communication is through digital supports. After I finished the background, I started to embed some collages. So you have different types of collages and different references, of course. So the first reference is economic, and I took some blueprints. So I put it in here, in there, and there, of the HSBC Bank in Hong Kong. And my point is, so the HSBC Bank is in Hong Kong. I went there a few years back because I like to see the physical buildings of big banks, and HSBC is quite an icon. And also, of course, with the protests in Hong Kong, it's quite relevant because it's a protest about the oppression of the central power of China and a protest for the independence. So I really wanted to embed the blueprints because they represent for me the foundations. It really asks the question of central power organization. That's why I embedded the cover of the book of the theological political treatise of Spinoza. So it's really a matter of democracy and how you organize government, and of course it links to the question of freedom. What is your freedom in regard of which kind of government you have? So it's really a question of who you are at a certain time, but also because we can't forget the question of digital orientation, and for me you are currently, because the painting is completely transformed and you have multiple perspectives, so it's really, it disorients you. And then you have the link to the May Day protest, which was a communist protest. So it's really like where we are going to, how different populations are organizing themselves, with on the background, on the big scenery, the fact that you have a pandemic. You look at the protests and you have a lot of videos. You see people engaging in the protests, physically speaking, but also they have a mask. Some of them don't, but they are filming. They are using their phone to take the videos of the protest. And people are taking videos of people taking videos of the protests. So it's like not only the primary distanciation with the physical fact that you are not seeing each other, so you go together, like people are reuniting. And then they are wearing a mask, so you don't really see their facial expressions. And then you use your phone, so it's like multiple distanciation. To go further in the knowledge, so I, like I said, used the Spinoza theological political treatise, and to support it, I wanted to put some prints of the book written by Abel Hugo. I already used it in my previous painting, so it's The Pittoresque France, and it has been done in 1835. So in this painting, I just embedded some prints of a cathedral and inside a cathedral. So at the end, I put a blueprint of a drone here in the center. So it's really like you have the convergence of the windows, like it's the windows of the building of the photo I distorted. So it's really the view to the sky, but in this case, the sky, you don't know if it's like to the ground or to the top. And for me, the drone has multiple references. First, of course, the reference to the war. It's guided remotely, so it's really through the digital environment, which is really important for me to point the fact that the way we organize the war is more and more remote. But the most important thing is you have an enemy. You need like to converge, like you have the people, and to converge together, they need an enemy, an invisible enemy. But it also, of course, because it's the drone, the blueprint of the drone is inside a square. It asks the question of freedom and how by itself, but the way of a kind of machine symbiose, governments are organized, and governments can relate on the physical entity through the fact that more and more our physical entity becomes digital with a value of dematerialized value, and how you manage this value, and of course by extension how you manage the physical entity and the obedience of people. So what I'm doing also, I put, because for me it's really important, some drawings of networks, and those drawings are linking all the different elements I embedded inside the painting. And really at the last part of the last part of the painting is I put a shape, so it's like a kind of veil as usual, but it's also like a curtain you can unravel, so you have a kind of transparency. So it's for me, it's really, you see what is happening, you know what is happening, you have all the elements, but this reality, and it's linked to the fictional politic, it's so close to you, it's real, but in a kind of unrealistic vision, because people, they don't want to see what is in front of them, not to acknowledge it and not to change, because they rather go in their own bubble. And also considering that our societies are completely under the implementation of algorithms, especially nowadays with the pandemics. We relate on algorithms for almost everything: deliveries, movement, mobility, and healthcare, and it's expanding a lot. So it's really like you have a kind of reality. You are dragged by algorithm, because algorithm, they organize, and it's linked to the productiveness of society, because you need to survive, economically speaking, in each different society. So really the shape is how you are blind in front of a very strong, powerful reality that you don't want to see. And nowadays the big question is the freedom, is democracy, and we need to be educated. We need to understand how it works as single human entity, because if we don't, we will be fully blind in front of an organizational government not ruled by a physical government, but more by a productive economic norm. So I hope you enjoy my little presentation today, and see you for the next painting. Bye bye.